It is Monday, February 2nd. The markets in New York are open, and the big number this morning, $2.1 trillion. That is the amount of profit large corporations are hoarding overseas. President Obama, in his new budget for fiscal 2016, is going to target all that cash sitting in those bank accounts abroad with a 14% tax, and it will need to be paid regardless if that money is brought back here. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Kleffler in New York. The president planned to target overseas profit, part of his $4 trillion annual budget. And here are the details. Mike Santoli from Yahoo Finance on this Monday morning. So, Mike, I want to look a little bit deeper at this plan because getting that overseas profit has been an issue that obviously a lot of presidents have been dealing with. How would this particular plan work?
Well, the idea would be to sort of lower the stated rate on those profits held overseas. Right now, if a company wanted to bring back that cash, they'd be charged at the standard corporate tax rate around 35%. That has been, for many companies, basically prohibitive. They view that as reason enough never to bring that cash over. Now, past presidents have actually had kind of a tax holiday where these companies were able to, as they say, repatriate that money over here for a brief period of time without it being taxed. They were supposed to give some kind of assurances that it'd be used to, add jobs or something like that, but there was no real check on that. So this idea is to just lower that rate, and hopefully that would encourage companies to bring that money here.
And what's been the response to that so far? I mean, is that enough of a cut that's actually an enticement then to kind of bring that back in?
So far, basically, people are characterizing this as nothing but an opening negotiating gambit. It's not really as if this is some magic number at 14%. Let's keep in mind the context here. The president has some spending proposals in his budget, namely a pretty big number for infrastructure improvements of close to $500 billion. This would be one of those areas that he says, well, here's partly how I would pay for it. So that's really where this is coming from. But the general idea of trying to reform the corporate tax code to kind of, get rid of these imbalances in terms of how much companies are taxed if they earn money overseas and bring it back here versus how they're taxed by other countries. Yes, that is something that I think is on the table, at least in theory.
Okay, so for the funds that would be generated from this tax, and what it would be used for in the president's budget?
Well, the way that the president is proposing it, it would be used for infrastructure improvements. And I think this is one of the ways that he hopes to make it a bit more palatable for, all people in Congress, basically, because the idea of improving bridges, roads, railroads, things like that, is relatively bipartisan. I think that generally people are okay with the idea that spending money to improve those things and bring up a lot of deficient infrastructure to standards is probably something that we all could agree on for a while.